All right, so we're going to do a little critique on the images that I got for imagination. And I know I'm a little bit late on this. I was holding on, hoping I would get the fifth one, but it didn't come in. So we're just going to do what we have here. Um, Taylor is the only one who does not have a folder, so it's a loose image, and we'll go to that one first. Whoops, hang on one second. I know we're off screen. There we go. Okay, so her text that followed along with this said, I used a photo I took to show depression. All illustrations are mine. This might seem like a strange photo for imagination, but my story behind it is that even in the darkest times of life, there's always time to relax and dream. It can cause your brain to fight off the bad feelings with unrealistic objects, situations, and more. Imagination comes at weird times, but when you can use it the most. So, this is an interesting combination of photo and illustration. I think I pretty much got the concept even without reading the text, and which is a sign that it's well done. So the black and white of the image and the hands. I mean, certainly that looks like, and even the pose lends itself to a feeling of depression. And then you've got this light, airy, colorful area coming from the head, which is showing you that they're using these ideas to fight off the other feelings. It's interesting that it is a smaller portion of the image than the overall black and white, which means that it's tough to fight off, which depression is. So this is a pretty good example of even though it's not straight photography, there is a lot of illustration in here. I think it works well. It definitely fits the concept. The only thing I would have liked to seen is a little more dramatic lighting on the subject because it's just very flatly lit. It gets the point across, but I'm thinking something a little more theatrical from a more oblique angle or something might have helped that a little bit more. But overall, great concept and carried off pretty well. All right, so Cody has a number of images here, so we'll look at the source images first. These are the images that he used, the stock photo on the left, and two that obviously I believe he would have taken on the right. So here's what it says. This concept came from me remembering from a previous assignment that you enjoyed searching someone's image for hidden objects like an alien in a white, it says White House. I'm not sure if that's what you meant or not. Um, Also, for me, Mario is one of the most imaginative titles I've ever experienced and is a very memorable character. So, those are the images that he started with, and this is what he created from it. So, again, concept is done well. I would, two things. So, first of all, the shadow that's coming from the object on the left is much harsher and more defined than the shadow coming from the books. It's in the same basic direction, although the lighting on the books is a little more left to right, whereas the one on the object on the left is a little more slightly behind it, obviously. There is a bit of a contact shadow, but a little bit more would have been helpful. So the shadows don't match up exactly, but that's kind of a minor point. I think just blurring a little bit of that shadow on the left would have made that blend in a whole lot better. Um, and so much of the image is a stock photo that again it almost falls into the realm of an illustration when I'm trying to critique the photography as well as the concept that you created, and 90% of this image is a stock photo. So I would caution you to stay away from stuff like that, but the idea behind this and the concept of Mario in the bottle like that is very creative. Like I said, I would like to see a little more of your work in the final image. But good job on the concept at least. All right, so Paul we'll take a look at his, these are his source images that he's working from. And these are, and we'll look at them one at a time. So that's the first one, and it's called Colors of Consciousness. And here's his description. He said, as you can see, once again, I tried my hand at abstract portraiture this week. For the base images, I took two photos, one lit from the left and one from the right. To create the edit, he used the changing channels technique in Photoshop to achieve the color, but intentionally moved the additional channels so that they were unaligned. Then he said I took the image into Procreate and used a tool that they include under their liquefy effect called Crystallize to distort the edges. My thought process behind how this photo fulfills the imagination prompt is that for a person to have three heads or faces, it has to have some type of fabricated or surreal representation that is imaginative in nature. I also used the three colors of digital light in an attempt to metaphorically symbolize that there was a split between the normal world and this subject, along with his current state of mind. So then if the subject were to leave this lucid state and return to reality, the colors would go back together and then the person would appear as they normally do in full true color. Wow, that's a lot. That's pretty deep. It's a deep concept and carried through extremely well. So again, using past techniques that we've looked at and remembering that, hey, this technique might really work for this assignment. Great job on that. Compositionally, it's done well. The split with the color channels, everything really just falls into place on this one. So this is, I mean, this is probably, Paul, one of my favorite images that you've done all semester. I really think this is done well. This one is called Intoxication or Imagination. It says I used the same base images to create this edit as well, although and also made use of the changing channels technique. This time though, I tried to keep the layers much closer in terms of registration and added in many more color channels to achieve a rainbow effect on the subject. After this, I once again took the image into Procreate and used the liquefy tool. Used a very small brush to push back and forth over the figure to give it a distorted look. Then as I was experimenting, I with just randomly pushing the scene around to see what happened, I noticed that I could morph the photo into just colored lines. So I duplicated that liquefied layer multiple times, changed the blending mode to color dodge, and rotated them until the scene was filled with wavy formations of colors. I feel that the psychedelic ethereal aesthetic that this image has really puts it into the realm of surreal and imagined visuals. I also use the title as a bit of a play on words as it leads viewers to determine for themselves whether this scene is a result of chemical intoxication or vivid imagination. So again, I'm kind of blown away here. Like the images themselves are very striking and interesting, but the thought process behind is what really sells these. These are just incredibly creative, incredibly imaginative. They fit the theme absolutely perfectly, and the use of, like I said, prior techniques, just genius on this one. Just extremely well done. And so that leads us to Justin finally. And so this is interesting. He said, so this assignment was really fun. I went a bit off the wall with this one, but I enjoyed my time making it. As far as imagination goes, when I was younger, I remember running around the house with a blanket over myself, acting like Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars. I would make the lightning noises and act like things were blowing up and I was going on a rampage. So I decided to illustrate what 8-year-old me would have seen in his mind or imagination. I used a handful of techniques here, including my green screen, to easily mask myself out of the original photo. I used 2 modeling lights as best I could to get the right lighting angles to match up with the background image, and I did some color correction and blending to the best of my ability. In some spots I added highlights to show where the lightning would be lighting my shoulders. And the most exciting thing, I also learned how to make lightning brushes. So again, this image, it does make use of well, I don't know. These background images could be yours. They could be something that you found. I don't know. But overall, the subject still dominates this. So even if they were not your images, which they easily could be, the subject here still really holds the scene. So there's a couple little technical things. The the loss of contrast and blending in this area is a little bit off, but overall, I mean, still the effect is pretty wild. And again, the concept of imagination really falls through here. It really comes through. The look on your face, good acting job on that. I am a little concerned that you identify so well with the villain in this story, but hey, that's that's not for me to determine. Yeah, so making lightning brushes, which you can download for free by the thousands, by the way, but learning how to make them is a lot cooler. It's sort of like, you give a man a fish and you fed him for a day, and you teach him how to fish and you fed him for a lifetime. So the knowledge that you gain from that. I love the little explosions in the background where the lightning's hitting the ground. No real, other than, like I said, a couple little technical things, no real criticisms about this image. This was done really well. So overall, I think you guys did a really good job with the concept. I think you definitely nailed it as far as a theme is concerned. Probably overall might be the best week of submissions, the whole semester. So really well done, guys. All right, so we will have one more demonstration on Thursday, and then one more assignment. And then starting next week, we're going to have, or not starting next week, but next week on, let's see, that would be the 23rd, I believe. Let's see, today's the 14th. 16th, yeah, 23rd, Thursday, we are going to meet at our normal time, regular class time, 3:30 on Thursday, and we'll do it via Zoom so that we can do a review of the material for the semester. It shouldn't take a ton of time to go over this, maybe a little bit more than you've had to invest in watching the videos, but still certainly not the full 2.5, 3 hours. I will be sending out a link via email, so watch for that. If you don't get it, let me know. But that's how we'll meet next week. All right, guys, thanks. Great job.